Great. So welcome everyone. The steering committee meeting. Oh, perfect. Liz, you dropped right in the chat what I was about to do myself. All of our agenda and other items are in that link. In fact, we have, in addition to doing our minutes, we have one real agenda item, which is reviewing the draft agenda for this month's Climate Council meeting. So that's what we're planning to do. We'll do some public comment towards the top of the hour if you're joining us and have something you want to chime in on. Before we dive into our agenda, steering committee members, anything else on your mind or anything you want to make sure we deal with today? Okay, great. Well, let's dive in. There is a draft, minutes, sorry. We need to do minutes. We have the minutes linked in the agenda. Let me just make sure that link is working. Yeah. So I think, and Liz, you explained this last time, because of accessibility requirements now on the website, these documents are kind of like not separate documents, they're just pasted in onto the web page itself. Is that right?
Yeah, it's all going to be on the page with the meeting information. And so, for instance, the meeting minutes from the last meeting is just on that calendar page, meeting information. If you just scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the draft meeting minutes. And I could pop that link in here.
That's great. Okay. I'll give folks just a second to scan those again if you need one more look at those. Any concerns about the minutes? No?
No concerns. I think there's just a little typo in that 8:30 section. Does it say 8:30? 88:30? Does anyone see that? Okay.
Okay. Well, let's fix that. Um, okay. Any requests for more time to look at these? All right. So no concerns, no requests for more time. So let's treat these as approved. Thanks, everyone. All right. So getting back to our main attraction here, which is a draft meeting, and it's important that we have those minutes because those minutes are what inform this agenda. Um, Let me go ahead and share my screen, I think is the way to do this best. You can all have it in your own screens as well. Okay, so fundamentally, this meeting is about sort of a set of updates in the council reflecting about what those updates might mean for the council's work. That's sort of like, in a nutshell, what I see this meeting being based on our last conversation. Um, so, uh, hang on, I'm just going to pull you guys off to the side here for a second. So first we'll do the usual, if there's any written public input that's come in since the last meeting, and I believe according to Liz, there is some, we like to start the meeting with a summary of any public input that's come in. Then we're going to go into our series of updates and discussions. The first being a ledge update. And here, Joey, I put uh, Secretary Moore here. It's been our habit, I think, in the past that like you and Julie kind of do this a little bit together. So I'm happy if you want to be specifically named or if you just want to react in the same way all the counselors will react. I'm happy to go either way on that.
Yeah, I'm happy to be named and sort of round it out. And clearly it's a conversation, so
Okay,
others can weigh in too, but that'd be fine. Thanks,
great.
David.
Yeah, and I think Secretary Moore has a presentation and sort of some, some visuals there, and then Joey, I can. Why don't we just do an update of this and pop your name on there too as sort of like explicit mention.
Yeah, I would appreciate that as well. Thanks, David
Okay, great.
and Joey.
Yeah. Okay, so that the idea, ledge update, and then for each of these, it's like a brief discussion about the implication for the council's work. That's sort of what I put on here. If that feels right, let's talk about that. Or if it doesn't feel right, let's get it right. That's the first one. The second one is Jane giving an update on what's going on at the Climate Action Office. This will include a discussion that you all requested, which is of what's going on with the inventory and the challenges of getting the inventory together and data. But it won't just be that, it'll be what's going on. There is a possibility, because Jane being on the road that day, that Liz will be delivering that. But Jane and Liz will work on that presentation together. So that's what's going on at the Climate Action Office and the variety of things that the office is working on and how they connect to pieces in the Climate Action Plan. The third update is from what's been going on at the U.S. Climate Alliance, which is that collection of states working together for climate action. There was a meeting of the U.S. Climate Alliance a couple weeks ago, and Melissa is on deck here for this because she's also one of Vermont's reps there, as I understand it. Jane, you can correct me if I'm getting that wrong.
Nope, that's right. Her and I are both the governor appointees.
Perfect. And so there are updates about how the U.S. Climate Alliance, and Jane, actually, maybe I'll just turn it over to you, Jane, about what you think this update really will be about. If you don't mind just saying a word.
Sure, happy to. I think last time, actually, Joey mentioned this when we were meeting as a steering committee, just to give an update on a reflection of like what state leadership looks like in a time of federal uncertainty. And I think that's the role of the Climate Alliance, really to support states around climate action, and how we lead right now, in particular with a lot of the rollbacks and challenges with the federal government. So I think I'll just, Melissa and I are coordinating together and using some slides that the Climate Alliance developed actually for us, asking some questions about targets, about about supports, about sort of how we work with advocates at a time like this. So we'll put together a few slides, and Melissa, because I'm traveling, hopefully I'll be on with Melissa as well too, but Melissa said that she would be happy to lead it.
Thanks, Jane. Helpful. Okay, again, I'll be prompting the conversation on the back end of that, saying, okay, what do you think this means for the council's work? Like, what does this mean for the next 12 months of work at the council, et cetera? Then we've got our friends from Vermont Emergency Management. You may remember in December, or March, we had Eric, I think, in talking about the hazard mitigation plan. Based on what we heard from you all in the last steering committee meeting, what we've asked Eric to do this time is to talk about how things are going in the world of hazard mitigation grants, the sort of local hazard mitigation plans, and what's going on, some of the updates on what's actually happening in FEMA and with the advisory council, and how all that's impacting. And this is something I think Chris Campany has asked for a couple times. And so the idea is not to be repetitive of what we did last time, but to sort of do a little bit more double click on what's been happening the last few months. And again, a conversation on the back end from counselors about what this might mean for the Climate Council. So that was going to be it. We'll do public comment, and then I baked in a little time for final reflections, not only to reflect on what you might have heard of public comment, but also maybe to tie things together. Now, I'll say transparently, this one thing is different in this agenda than when we talked about the last time we all met as a steering committee, or you all met, where there was a suggestion of like, hey, just go around the room and give everybody 3 minutes to reflect on what they're seeing and what that means for the work of the council. I didn't put that in explicitly to do that, but it is somewhat implicit in the discussion on these key topics, right? The topics of the legislative update, the topic of what's going on in state climate action in Jane's office, what's going on nationally, the U.S. Climate Alliance, and then locally and nationally on all this hazard mitigation work. I'm hopeful that weaves together actually topically a little bit better. So we don't need some like everybody go around the room and take 3 minutes. But I'm open to thoughts on how to get this right. And if we need to leave a little more time at the end or at some point for just sort of free-flowing reflections. Okay, I'll stop talking. It's a 2-hour meeting is what we have in the books. So whatever we do, we want to do it within those 2 hours. Reflections, friendly amendments, questions. What do y'all think? I'll keep it up on the screen for the moment and then I'll take it down whenever so we can see each other in a bit. Are we hitting the mark? Are we missing something? Is this what you expected when we spoke last time? Any thoughts? Is it perfect?
Seems good to me.
Okay. Great.
Uh, David, I have a I don't know, comment
Yeah.
or question, and it may
Mhm.
tuck up under the some of the legislative updates. But I think there's a need to reflect on some of what happened around Act 181, recognizing it's not
Mm.
specific to climate action, but I think it is um, important in terms of sort of how rural Vermont is feeling about sort of big action by Montpelier. And I do think it has bearing on our work as a climate council. I'm happy to raise some of that. I'm looking specifically at kind of thinking about lessons learned and how we start to roll out some of the requirements under the Flood Safety Act. But I do think it has even broader application than that, and just something folks should be aware of and kind of rolling around in their minds as we think about how we move forward.
Excellent. Okay. Why don't we make sure that that conversation happens when we talk about the legislative update? Um, and Secretary Moore, you could even prompt that in
Yeah,
your
I'm happy to do that. I just it's a little it's like one step removed maybe from what I suspect
right.
counselors would be thinking would take place in that space, but it does feel really important and timely.
Okay. Great. Does that seem good to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Um, any other sort of friendly amendments of how to make this better or things that are going to be important we don't want to miss? Okay. All right. Well, great. I know that presentations already come together for this, um, and the work's getting done on the back end to show up and um, be able to present this material. I really do think it's going to be important in the conversation. I'm interested in your thoughts since we have a minute or two right now um, of how to orient the discussion on the back end, right? Because I feel like the council, you all getting into the rest of the year are
That's
going
it's
to
quicker to need if I don't see it. Thank you.
getting into the rest of the year, you're going to start taking stock about how the first year and a half of implementation has gone of the climate action plan and thinking forward into the next. And so this is one of these meetings where you can really start to think about like how reality is doing versus what you imagined in the climate action plan and the implications for your work in the next period of time. I'm just curious if that feels like the right frame for the conversation, if there's something else you want to make sure we're like how we're orienting the discussion around these topics. Or did I confuse you with that?
Do you mean for the ending where counselors share their thoughts, David?
Yes, in the final wrap up, but throughout as well, right?
Hmm.
And so, like
Hmm.
when you hear a legislative update, or you hear what's going on in the U.S. Climate Alliance, or you hear about this, it's like, okay, well, what does that mean in terms of our work as a council and what we're going to need to be doing in the coming period? Um, because one thing is what state government is doing and needs to keep doing in between these periods. Another thing is like what the council needs to do and how the council reflects on what it put into a climate action plan and what reality is delivering.
That resonates with me.
Okay. Any other reflections before I go to public comment? Okay, great. If you've been joining our call today, and if you have some input on what we're trying to work through today with planning this agenda, um, I'd welcome any thoughts from folks who've been observing our meeting today. I'll take a moment, see if anybody has any. Okay. All right. Did we do it? Is that it? Anything else? Great. Crazy efficient. Well, we will see you all on the 22nd in the meeting. And the one change you'll see there is Joey, I'll put your name on the legislative update piece as well, so it's explicitly named.
Thank you.
All right. Happy Monday, everybody. Take care.
Have a good day all.
Thanks,
Yeah.
David.
Yeah. Bye-bye.